Hello, Craig, or whoever is watching this in the future. Today, class, we're going to be going over how to upload images of patterns to VCarve and spit out MMG files that you can send over and cut on that thingy right there. First things first, we're going to open VCarve. For this specific pattern, I already have made I have a pattern made, template made. So we're going to click this template right here. And that's going to create a new file that has our gating system for the bike racks already set up with an outline of where our two panels shall go. First thing you will notice is the job setup on the left side of the screen. Everything in here is pretty consistent. It shouldn't be changed, but if it is changed for any reason, this is what it should be at. 20 by 20 inch board. Our 0 position is the material surface. Our XY datum position is 0, 0, bottom left corner. And we're going to hit OK. Once we do that, we can see our information right here. Again, these two boxes that I have just highlighted in pink, these are just space, like temporaries to show you where to put these templates in, our panels that we are actually casting. So to start out, we're gonna go over to this. We're gonna start out by saving our file. That is the most important thing. So we're gonna come up here, hit the save button. And I already have a folder going where I'm saving all these in the same spot, but we're gonna save it and name it based off of the two communities that we will be incorporating and adding in panels for, so that it's all labeled and laid out. So camp. Let's do the fancy symbol. Camp Hill. The bunch of 2 and Camp Hill 2. Boom, saved. Now to import our next. What are you looking at, Sam?
That's supposed to be Camp Hill 1.
No. The 2s are always together, the combo. I feel like I need to start over. This is embarrassing. Okay, here we go. Next step. Can I edit it after? Next step, we're going to import our image. So we're going to go up to the left of the page, top left of the page, under File Operations. And the top row of File Operations, the very right, you'll see what looks like the image of a small vanilla folder with it's very small, but something coming out of it that's supposed to be a bird coming out of it. So we're going to click that, which is our Import Bitmap button. We're then going to go over to our images and select the next image that we're going to be putting. For this one, I'm using this Baila Batre 3. Open that right up. As we can see, off the bat, it has imported our image, but it is not the correct size. So to make it the correct size, what we're going to do is go over on the left of our screen to where it says Transform Objects. And the second to left, is that correct? Second to left?
Yeah.
Second to left option, it says Set Selected Object Size. We're going to click that. And our panels are supposed to be 15 inches wide. So we're just going to go under our width and hit 15 inches and click Apply. And it is now 15 inches. The next step is to go to Transform Objects and go to the 1/3 from the left and click Rotate Selected Objects. And we're going to rotate this 90 degrees and then hit Apply. Then hit Close. Now that that is applied, we have our image right here, which we can now go to Edit Objects on the left of our screen. And in the top row, 3rd to the left, we have Transform Mode. We're going to click that, and now we can move our image around. We're just going to click and drag it into place, roughly into place. Doesn't need to be perfect. Now that we have our image roughly into place, we're going to go over to Create Vectors on the left of our screen. In the bottom row, the very leftmost button says Trace Bitmap, and this looks like a little bird. We're going to click Trace Bitmap. As you can see, our options are color and black and white. We're going to make sure that black and white is selected. You can play with these settings, but the standard default settings are pretty good, and we're just going to keep them as is. we're going to click the preview button, and we should see a preview of our outlines. One thing that is important to note, if your image is not selected, nothing will show up, or it'll show up, but you won't be able to hit preview or apply, and you can't change these things because it's not selected. So you want to make sure that your object is selected just by clicking on it one time, and then you'll be able to change these things, hit preview, get a preview, and then once you're happy with it, we're going to select apply. I know it doesn't look like anything happened, but that vector was now just created. So now to move on, we're going to have to close this window. So we're going to hit close. And now we have our image and the vector. To separate them, we're going to double click on the image and just drag that image away. And now we can see the vector showing behind. Now that we have the vectors, we do not need the image anymore. So we're just going to simply hit the delete button and delete that from our screen. Now we can click on our vector that was created, and as we can see, it's all grouped together nicely. We're going to double click it so we can move it, and we're going to move it into place. We're going to zoom in using the scroll on the mouse and just adjust it. Ooh, where are they? Are they two of them? Well, I'm not sure how that happened. There seems to be two vectors, so we're just going to delete one of them because we don't need two vectors. Might have accidentally clicked apply twice. Who knows? It's slightly confusing. I feel like I should restart this. I've had so many issues happening.
Well, do this one and then maybe we can record another one as well.
Okay. Apologies. Over it, that's diabolical. Okay, continuing on. Now that we have this in roughly the right spot, we can click on this background, like this rough square that was just a template, and we're going to delete that because we no longer need that. An important thing to note is we are making sure that our gating system is lined up to areas that are going to be connecting to the port. Right here, all of these entryways for that metal are connecting and pouring into something in our design, which is good, which is what we want. For this next step, we're going to zoom in again by using the scroll on our mouse. We're going to zoom in to right where this casting panel overlaps or is touching with our gating system. So we're going to zoom in to one of those spots. We're going to zoom in really close, and we should see an overlap. Right now, we do not see an overlap. We just see one line. So what we're going to do is double click our casting vector design, and using our keyboard arrows, just right click an arrow and move it so that it is slightly overlapping. And now we can see that overlap. Now that we can see that we have an overlap going on all 4 of these sections of the gating system, we're going to zoom back out. We are then going to right click and ungroup this object, ungroup our vectors back onto original object layers. Click that one time and then click away so that goes unselects. Now that we have ensured that our design is overlapping with the gating system, really quickly, we're going to remember to hit save, because that's important to do along the way. And then we're going to click the outmost perimeter of our gating system, hold shift and click the other gating system so that they are both selected. We can zoom in again to see that this vector and that vector are both selected. Once those are both selected, we're going to go on over to the edit objects section of our panel on the left. Under the edit objects portion, the second row from the top and the very leftmost button is the weld button that says weld selected vectors. And we're going to click that button. And once we click that, you can see that this vector is now all one thing. If we zoom out, which is what we want, it's all connected. So when we send this through the system that carves it out and whatnot, it's all one piece and not separated into separate sections. Again, great time to save. And now we're just going to repeat that step one more time. We're going to go over to import bitmap, get our next image that we want to be selected. And again, it's not the right size. So we're going to go over to transform objects, second from the left button, set selected object size. Since our panel is 15 inches wide, We're gonna hit 15 inches and then hit apply. Close out of that. Go back over to transform objects, and the third to left button under transform objects is rotate selected objects. We're gonna click that, rotate it 90 degrees. That looks great. Then we're gonna hit close. You're gonna double click so that we can move the image, and we're just gonna roughly drag it into place. Next, we're gonna go back up to the create vectors option, and on that fourth row from the top, the very bottom row, leftmost button that looks like a tiny bird, we're gonna click that to trace our bitmap and to bring open those options. Everything looks right here, black and white. Our default settings, we're gonna click preview so you can see what it looks like. Everything looks great. And then we're gonna hit apply. And then close. Now that we have applied and we have our vectors and image, we're gonna double click. Take our image and drag it out of the way. And now we should just see vectors. And again, we don't need the image anymore, so we're gonna hit the delete button and delete that. Now that we have our vectors, we can double click that and drag that into place. And this time we only have one, which is correct how it should be. We're gonna roughly, using our keyboards again, our keyboard arrows, we're gonna roughly align that into place. We're gonna zoom in to where it should be overlapping with our gating system using the scrolling wheel on our mouse. As we can see, it is not. And now that we have it in the rough area, we're gonna take this box that was our outline and delete that. We're going to double click this again and move it into place a couple times with our left arrow until we can see that it is now overlapping and connecting with our gating system. We're going to double check that on all four of these little nodules, and it is connected. So again, next step. Next step is important. We're going to right click and ungroup the objects. That is because we are only welding. There's the button that it says. It's called the outmost layer of this panel with this gating system. If we were to select the entire panel, including the outside and this, and then go over to the weld button, that happens. It just creates all one thing because it overlaps. So we're going to hit Command Z and undo that. And we're just going to select the outmost layer and the gating system, and we're going to hit weld. And now everything should be nicely connected. We can unclick and we have everything done. So again, we're going to hit the save button because saving is very important. Next up, we are going to come over to the right side of the screen where it says toolpaths. Before we click the toolpaths, we're going to zoom out a little bit and we're going to select the entire image. So drag our cursor over every vector that we have on the screen. So everything is highlighted in pink dashed lines. We're going to right click our mouse. I should note that I say right click, but that's for a right-handed person. If you are cred and you are left-handed,
Would it be a left click?
it would just be a left click. I don't know. You're probably used to that though, honestly, with dealing with everything that's left-handed. But we're gonna group objects. So another option is dragging our cursor over the whole thing, coming up to the very left and going model or edit, maybe file or toolpaths, view. Nope, I think that's the only option. Cool. Well, hopefully that works. Now that everything is grouped together, we can click on any of it and the entire thing should show up in pink. Having everything highlighted in pink and selected, we're going to go over to toolpaths and select toolpaths. Under toolpath operations, we're going to go into the very top row and the very right option and go all the way over to inlay toolpath. Click inlay toolpath and you'll be presented with these options. You will then click male inlay insert straight. That is the one that we want. And you'll get a bunch of options that we're about to go through. First thing, our cut depth is set to 0.72 inches. The material we are cutting is only half of an inch thick, the foam, but we have it set to 0.72 inches because the foam flexes, and if we have it set as a half inch, it sometimes doesn't always cut all the way through. So we have it a little bit further than that so that the router goes all the way through, cuts everything out, and that's why we have a backer board or a scrap board underneath that also gets cut through. So double check that our cut depth is correct. Come down to the tool, we have the correct tool selected, which doesn't matter because it just doesn't matter. Passes, 3 passes. We want to click edit passes because we only want 1 pass. So that's going to save us a lot of time. For other materials, you would want multiple passes, but for foam, we can go down to 1. So at the very bottom of our screen here, number of passes, we're going to click the down arrow 2 times, so that is 1. And it'll say 1 pass at 0.2 inches. We're hit OK. And you should now, click it to us again. You can now see 1 pass. The next thing is we're going to add tabs to our toolpath. We're going to click add tabs. And after we click that, we're going to hit edit tabs. Once we have clicked edit tabs, our cursor looks a little different now. And if we bring our cursor over to these vector lines, we're going to click 4 times and add places where we want tabs to be. And the tabs are what holds it in place as it's cutting, so it doesn't cut all the way through and get thrown around in the router. Once we have our tabs placed, we're going to hit close. And we're going to come on down to our name. And I have a code system that we're using, so I'm going to name this accordingly. And name this E2. After we have it named and everything is still selected, we're going to click calculate. You're going to get a warning telling you that we are cutting deeper than our material thickness, which is okay. We are aware of that. It's just a warning so that you don't cut through your machine bed. But that's why we have a second layer of material underneath that is being cut through. So we're going to hit OK. And now we have this, and we have to go through our preview options and hit the play button that you're going to see on your screen right here and hit run. And it's going to run a simulation. We have the speed set pretty fast, but we can also slow that down, hit reset, and play that again to show you that it's showing you the exact order that our router is going in. We can speed it up just a little bit, and you can watch it go through. Make sure there's no issues. It's not going off your machine board. It's not going out of bounds. It's doing all the things that you want it to do. Boom. So now we're going to close the preview, and under toolpaths, we're going to make sure our toolpath is selected because as of right now, it is not. So we're going to click E2. Once you see that selected, you can see how that changed our interface. With our toolpath selected, we're going to go up to the toolpath operations, and on the very bottom row, on the very rightmost button, you're going to see Save Toolpath. So ensuring that our toolpath is selected, we're going to click Save Toolpath. We're going to just double check a couple things here. Number 1, our machine, Powermatic machine. It is the only option here, which is good, but again, that is because we're cutting on a Powermatic machine. The post processor, Axiom HHC, which is that's the system that we have. So we're going to want to make sure that both of those are the same. And then we're going to click Save Toolpaths. And we're going to go on over to a file folder that I already have made, and we're going to just add it to that. And now our toolpath is saved. The next step would then to be taking the flash drive from your post-processor controller, plugging it into your computer, putting that MMG file, which is our toolpath file, onto that flash drive and plugging it into the router processor and then running the program. Now that that's all done, we're just going to hit save one more time, and then we're going to be able to close out our program, and we're done. Thank you.